This Guitar Interactive magazine feature is brought to you by Ciari Guitars, much more than a travel guitar. For more information, visit ciariguitars.com.
Okay, Steve, always a pleasure to chat with you, but particularly a pleasure when you've got brand new music. And of course, we've waited a little while to get a new full-length album from you and Billy. You've had some tremendous success with these EPs. Why now the time for a new full-length record?
Well, Billy says that he has to do as much press for an EP as he does for an album, so he might as well just put an album together. I think also, we had developed a really good, working relationship with Tommy English, the producer of the album. We had written with him before, and he had actually, produced a couple of tracks, and we thought, it was really fun working with him, and let's try, doing a whole album.
Absolutely, and it's come out incredible. I mean, when you get a new record from, legendary artists, like you and Billy, there's always a little bit, as a fan, a little bit of apprehension because you're thinking, wait, are they going to go in this direction? Are they going to go in that? You want something new, but you still want something that, touches a little bit on the nostalgia, the stuff that you're used to. And you guys seem to have found that balance perfectly across these 9 tracks. Was that a consideration when it came to crafting these songs?
Well, I think that, yeah, it was. And it's also the result of working with younger, producers. And also we had a couple of great co-writers that we worked with, Nick Long, and Joe Janiak, and Billy and I pretty much work, and our songwriting process has never changed. We sit in a room, couple acoustic guitars, and starts with maybe a little bit of a therapy session, what's going on in each other's lives, and but it's great to get this new energy. And guys that work very quickly. We did we were able to accomplish a song a day. So we kept the adrenaline and the excitement up of working quickly, and not laboring on things too long. Just like if something was good, it stuck, and if it wasn't, it got thrown out immediately. And it was it was really, at the end of the day, it was, really a lot of fun. I have to say, really, really good fun.
That's great. It's great to hear. It definitely comes across. And of course, that comes across amazingly on the live shows as well. Something I couldn't help but notice was, of course, on Still Dancing. Am I hearing the return of a little drum machine there? Was that a little nod to those early records?
Maybe a little bit at the beginning,
just at the start. Just
because the most obvious one is "Dream Into It," which is a sample of Marty Rev from Suicide's drum machine on "Dream Baby Dream." That song is definitely an homage stylistically to Suicide. Alan Vega and Marty Rev were 2 musicians that Billy and I really liked, and we'd go see them all the time. And so we use Marty's drum machine.
Absolutely. Look, something that you do, obviously, on all your records, you're one of the best when it comes to riffs and guitar parts and what have you. But I think something you do better than anyone is come up with incredible intros to songs, so legendary. Like, you hear the first couple of notes and you're like, you know exactly who that is. Looking at music that you love and artists that you love over the years, what's a top 3 great riff intro from other artists that you've enjoyed?
Oh, wow. I mean, there's always the obvious, and anything Jimmy Page did, is written in stone as far as rock riffs. Hendrix always had. I like. I always thought Siberian Khatru from Steve Howe with Yes was a really good opening riff. It's kind of funky, but it's unique to him. What would be another good rock riff? Are we talking just where a guitar is only on its own?
I think something that's like just like the way you are, Steve. You know that way you hear a couple of notes and you know exactly
Hmm.
who it is.
Hmm.
It's so signature. So it could be anything. I mean, those first two, absolutely perfect.
Oh, yeah, the Wanton song, Led Zeppelin.
Sure.
Uh, it's two notes, but it's it's so amazing, you know. So I have to throw Jimmy Page in there. I'm sure I'm glossing over some, you know.
It's tough on the spot. I mean, they're all great. They're all great choices. That's for sure. There's
Yeah,
no
there's
bad
a
ones.
really good one. There's a really good Alan Holdsworth one.
Hmm.
I don't know the title of the song, but it's on Tony Williams' Lifetime. I
Oh
can
well.
send the title of the song to Kent,
Yeah.
and he can give it to you because
So
it's so metal, and you wouldn't think it coming from a jazz drummer and a avant-garde guitar player like Holdsworth, but it's a great rock riff. So
uh,
I'll let you know.
well, I want to hear it. That's for sure. Some of the people that you mentioned there, obviously, I mean, you're like very much a product of 70s rock. You know, your Led Zeppelins, you're mentioning there, and of course, all your love for prog. When you meet Billy, obviously, he's a big punk guy. And when you
Yeah.
think when you think punk, the whole reason for punk existing was almost to sort of wipe out all that overblown kind of, I'm putting in air quotes here, rock and prog. Did that mesh of styles and what you guys were into, is that really the crux of why you were able to come up with such unique combinations?
Um, yeah, I would say, yeah. I mean, the thing is, you know, Billy had done three records with Generation X, had moved to a new country. I definitely got the impression that he wasn't looking to continue that, and he had started working with Keith Forsey, his producer, who came from the Giorgio Moroder camp, doing Donna Summer's records,
Mhm.
and the EP that he did um, before I joined, the Don't Stop EP, was definitely not a punk rock record.
No,
Although Dancing with Myself was on there, but Dancing with Myself, not really punk rock. It's just great rock. Reminds me more of like glam rock, Sweet, things of that nature.
sure.
But then when we started to talk, I mean, I made no bones about the fact that I was a fan of Jeff Beck, Jimi Hendrix, all that stuff. But I was particularly bored with all of the by 77, I was bored with what was happening in Prague, and I had started to listen to. I remember I was a huge Devo fan because it seemed to me that they were taking the technology and doing it in such a cool, unique way. Then I loved Elvis Costello and the Jam, and XTC was a big one for me.
Mm.
And I thought that they had tinges of stylistically like almost Steve Howe, but wrapped it up in a different way. But then when Billy, turned me on to John McGee from Susie and the Banshees, I went, oh, well, that's kind of progressive rock guitar. If you're, and I started, and I think I had the conversation with him, and I said, look, I can play anything
Mm.
that a song's going to require stylistically. I've got a background of folk and even flamenco. And I said, I think it's going to suit you better to have somebody who has capabilities for any idea rather than you're always having to push someone.
Mm.
It's better to siphon the good. Maybe I'll throw out too many ideas, but at least you can pick the good stuff. And I think that's what we were able to do. And certainly with Rebel Yell, I think that was, we kind of went, oh, okay, I can see how this could work.
Yeah, you found like your niche at that point. You really knew what you wanted to say with it. What was the first track you worked on together?
When we first met would have been Dead on Arrival,
Okay.
which was on the first record. A pretty basic rock thing. And then we started to delve into things like Hole in the Wall, using a lot of echoes. And By then, I was listening to a lot of the Andy Summers stuff and delay lines and things like using delays. And I think this is even before YouTube, but I had gone to see the Police and I was just knocked out with what they were doing. So I was using a lot of effects and things. I think Billy liked that.
Interesting. And how long into the sessions before White Wedding appears?
So White Wedding was the last song written for the first album. We
Wow.
didn't have a single, and they locked Billy in the, our producer Keith locked him in the studio and said, "You're not coming out. You can stay there all night until you come up with a single." And I remember I got a knock at about 9 in the morning on my hotel. We were recording in Los Angeles, and it's Billy with a boombox, and he's got the cassette of his demo of White Wedding, and he goes, "I think I did it. I think I got the single."
And
And
what was your reaction when you heard the demo?
oh, it was fantastic, and I mean, all of it, all the elements were there. That the spaghetti western guitar motif, although I embellished on it, but it was there. And that's the thing for me. If you have a song that has a great concept, it's like oh man, it's a great meal for me because I can really paint with a lot of colors around that.
Well, it's interesting that you put it in that way, because I don't think there's many people better on the instrument in terms of the chord voicings that you choose and how you're able to leave so much space for everything else around to fit in. What turned you on to that kind of style? Because, a lot of the times you'll be leaving out, sometimes some important bass notes, maybe a fifth but it all must be down to what you hear in your head. Is that how you judge that?
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of classical arrangements and how the instruments intertwine. I'm not a terribly schooled musician, but I'm a great fan of recorded music, and my personal tastes of what I listen to. I don't really listen to, maybe I did early on, but I don't listen to a lot of guitar music. I
Okay.
listen to a lot of film soundtracks and instruments outside of guitar. So, the sum of the parts is if a song is well arranged, a Led Zeppelin song, very rarely is the guitar playing what the bass is playing. It's all these intertwined parts that create something bigger. And that's one of the things I will say about the early prog guitar players, like Steve Hackett and Robert Fripp, and they were really good at embellishing styles. Maybe there's a nylon string guitar that comes in for half a verse and then goes to a fuzz guitar and go. I'm not one of those guys like an Eric Clapton that plugs in and has one guitar sound that carries the whole tune. That's just never appealed to me. I love creating textures with different sounds and different guitars, and that's certainly something Steve Howe does really well.
Yeah, and you totally hear it there for sure. Something that was interesting that you're mentioning, that track White Wedding was at the end of those sessions, because am I right in thinking you played your first show January 1st, 1982 in Boston? And that's like way ahead of the album release. I mean, we're talking like the album comes out October that year, unless I've got my dates wrong.
Yeah, that's very possible. I mean, we were actually the very last group to play at Max's Kansas City. This was before the first album or anything. Billy and had some friends that were playing Max's that night. And he said, "Hey, can we get up and do a jump up?" And we got up and played about 4 songs, I believe. A couple of new originals we had, some Generation X tunes, and so we had already had our band together, and we started playing some shows. I think even just to kind of get the chemistry together, possibly before the first record when we went out to LA to record the first record.
Incredible. It must have been, incredible vibe to see some of those shows. Just going back to the new record, Dream Into Me, as expected, Steve, incredible tones throughout the album as well as the playing. Can you talk us through some of the gear that you're using on this album?
Yeah, primarily. So the majority of the record was recorded in Los Angeles. So I live in Las Vegas. So the guitars that I brought with me were mainly my Nag signature SSC guitar, and I have one gold top that has the Jimmy Page wiring in it, so you can get out of phase, coil tapping, all of this. It's like a Swiss Army knife of guitars. So any sound that I needed, I could get out of that guitar. Tommy English had a number of guitars that I used. He's got a beautiful old Martin from the 50s I used for the acoustic stuff. And then I did some of the heavier guitar things at my studio at home in Vegas, and that would have been any one of my Nags guitars. My Nags, the current model is the SSC, the Steve Stevens Classic.
Fantastic. And are we talking all Friedmans then, amps wise?
Exactly. My Friedman signature amp and also the Friedman BE. Some guitars that we really wanted heavily treated, because I was the first one to say, let's not put a lot of keyboards on here. Let me try and take the role that a keyboard were doing by manipulating the guitar in Pro Tools with plugins and things. So some guitars were recorded direct, and we used some amp sims. I'm a big fan of the Neural amp plugins. They're great. They're fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that was a lot of that. Bunch of pedals. I've got a vast array of guitar pedals.
Of course, and we've seen you, taken on tour as well, the Ciari guitar, which is a very interesting travel guitar. But travel guitar is oversimplifying what this guitar is, isn't it?
It's not a gimmick. It's no joke, this thing. It's the technology that goes into this thing is mind-bending and mind-blowing. But I think the way that working musicians operate these days is very different than it used to be. It used to be that you do recording, and then you go on the road, and then you come off the road and write, and it's more intertwined. So I have a little recording set up with me in the hotel room, and I'm able to record tracks like real quality album quality guitar tracks in my hotel room, and travel with this guitar. It fits in a backpack. It goes under the seat of a plane. And my model has coil taps, so you can get anything from a telly sound to a bit of a Stratty thing to a Les Paul out of this guitar, and it's really cool. It's really
the ray gun logo, of course, as well. The light up ray gun. You can't. To be honest, when I had a little play on it, because I was like, "Wow, this thing is incredible." One of the things that really blew me away was just that tuner that's on that's on the side of the neck. I thought, why has no one thought of that before?
Yeah, I mean that's been available for years and years. Yeah. That's made by Shadow, and I don't know why it didn't catch on. I think it costs $30 on Amazon or something, and it's such a useful thing to have that tuner on the guitar.
Yeah, it's a nice little just adds to the aesthetic of the whole thing. And of course, you're not just playing this in the dressing room or in the hotel rooms and stuff. You're taking this on stage, yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah. It sounds fantastic. We've got bare knuckles pickups in there that were designed for this guitar. Specifically, I always try and tailor the pickups to the guitar, tune them to the guitar, and I think we did a really good job with these.
Incredible, no, for sure. Now, in the past when you've described your tone, you've described it as like sharp, defined edges as the sort of thing that you're looking for. Could you explain or expand a little bit more on what you mean by that when you're looking for a tone that works for you?
Well, I really, I love locking into the drummer, and I've never been a fan of kind of mushy mush tones. Um, I think my tastes, obviously, with even Jimmy Page or the Yardbirds, those guitar sound and the Kinks, those guitar sounds were so definable where the note started and the tonality of the note, rather than just covering things up with distortion. I learned early on that when you're recording, the cleaner you can get your guitar sound, the better for the quality of the recording. And let the riff or the tune carry the power. So that really relies on a well-defined, guitar sound. And from my early days, I think my first pro setup was high watts. That was my first when I was in a cover band. I played through high watts, and and I was a big Pete Townsend fan. My cover band did a lot of Who stuff, and I think that kind of got ingrained in me, that high watt, uh, big, clean, almost like a giant acoustic guitar sound. Because
Sure.
you could sometimes if the amplifier is too distorted, you can't play thirds in your chords. You can only play root, fifth, root, because the when you start adding thirds into the chord, it starts to sound weird if it's too distorted. So I like to have a sound that's clean enough to get thirds and sevenths and ninths into the chord, so I can create some harmonic textures,
Oh,
not just.
it explains a lot about your chord choices and voicings then. It's almost like one is kind of leading the other, the tone and your note choice.
Yeah, I mean the ultimate guitar. Um, when you think of the Beatles, why they're harmonically so rich, those clean sounds that they had enabled them to play those beautiful chords. And same with the Police, and even Hendrix. For the most part, had a pretty clean sound when he was just playing the chordal stuff. So I try and have an aggressive sound, a rock guitar sound, but clean enough to play complex chords.
No, for sure. And on the acoustic side of things, you've been using the Godin models for years and years now. How did you get turned on to those guys?
So when I decided to do my Flamenco A Go-Go album, I was just embracing some technology. I was listening to Massive Attack and Propeller Heads, and thought, oh, wouldn't it be great to combine a nylon guitar with loops and things? And somehow I read about this nylon guitar that could track MIDI, and I was at the NAMM show, and I went. I knew it was Godin, and I went to the booth, and I believe I met Robert, or Robert, as they say, um, and said, I'm a guitarist for Billy Idol. I'm getting ready to do a nylon guitar album, and I heard you have a guitar that can track MIDI, and then I already had a great relationship with Roland, so I had them send me the latest guitar synth, and got the Godin, and I was off and running.
Well, it's one of those things, when you think like 26 years later, if something's not broke, don't fix it. That's clearly something that's really worked for you massively.
Yeah, I mean, I've been with them for so long. They're my longest standing guitar endorsement, and I like working with longtime friends. Obviously, Billy Idol, but also with Nags, my signature guitar company. Peter Wolf and I have known each other almost 40 years. And,
And the
um,
bare knuckle stuff must be 20 years now as well, go or close to
that's
it.
right.
Yeah,
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 and
it's
I
got.
saw I sought them out. I sought Tim Mills out
Mm.
because he was playing in an Aussie cover band, and I thought any guy who's actually playing the guitar and kind of recreating the heaviness, and he's got a pickup company. I want to meet that guy.
Well, just with you mentioning Flamenco A Go Go there, incredible instrumental album from you. Any chance we see another instrumental album from you down the line?
I mean, that's always I always come around to saying, yeah, I'd love to do something that was a classic rock guitar album. But it's really hard for me to work with a singer because I'm spoiled. I've worked with the best of the best. From Robert Palmer, Michael Jackson, Billy Idol. I mean, uh, it's my standards are really high for singer.
Oh, but
I
Steve, you've got such a great voice on the instrument. That's the singer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess because I don't listen to a lot of, other than Jeff Beck. If whenever Jeff did an instrumental record, I was the first to get it. But a lot of guitar instrumental records, not, I mean, obviously, Joe Satriani and Steve Vai have carved out uh, that instrumental guitar record in such a great way. But a lot of the instrumental guitar records really bore me, and I'm so fearful of doing that, because I want people to, when you think of Blow by Blow, it people can enjoy that record whether they know anything about guitar or not. So I think a guitar instrumental record has to be enjoyable to people that really don't care about guitar. So that's a tall order. That's the litmus test for me.
And I'm assuming that, after, the Top Gun anthem and the awards for it and what have you, you must have had multiple offers to make an instrumental record over the years.
Yeah, yeah, and I did an instrumental record titled Memory Crash. That was my last instrumental record, but I found it really hard to do, though. I don't know. I guess I'm just so used to working with singers. When it came time for my guitar to play the melody, I hated it. I hated the process because I was like, oh, this could be so much better if there were words.
You just want to bounce off someone else. No, it makes perfect
I
sense.
that's I'm a collaborator at heart. I really am, and that's yeah.
When
That's
you first decided to go solo, and doing Atomic Playboy stuff and all that, obviously having so much success from Billy Idol and the stuff with Michael Jackson and the Top Gun stuff and so on and so forth, there was an awful lot of bands around then. Obviously, Ozzy was doing great. There's Whitesnake. There's all these sorts of people that would be looking for hired guns. Any offers come in over the years that you had to turn down?
Well, David Lee Roth, yeah, but I was still in Billy Idol when he came calling. He flew to New York and we met where I was living, and I was three-quarters of the way through the third Billy Idol record, Whiplash Smile, I said, I'm not going to bail on the record. I'm already committed to the record and the tour, um,
And this was this for Eat 'Em and Smile? Would that have been for
yeah,
that, right? Wow.
yeah,
And-
yeah.
but-
Actually, it's my gear on that album. When they came to New York to record it, Ted Templeman asked to borrow my amps, so my name's on the record if you look. So.
Incredible, incredible. And was there ever, a moment of hesitation to maybe take it? I know you're a man of your word, but you must have considered it.
Not in that case, because I was already friends with Eddie Van Halen. I had performed at the NAMM show with him, and I was really fearful of that being compared and filling those shoes. I think Steve Vai was exactly the right guy because he had such technical ability to cover that and also make his own statement. He was the right guy for that gig, without a doubt.
Absolutely, and you've been the right guy for all the choices you've made. That's for sure. And one of the choices you've made is you've gone back with Billy a couple of times. Obviously, this is the third time. It's the longest period. Comparing the three different eras where you're playing with them and writing and performing, how does it compare now with the first time? Do you feel that the pressure's off a little bit more now that you guys have so much success, or is there still that kind of like we've got to outdo what we did before?
Well, I only left one time, so and fortunately, when what had happened was after we did Whiplash Smile, Billy he moved to Los Angeles, and I had family in New York, and I had just gotten my first apartment, and I wanted to stay in New York, and I was signed as a solo artist to Warner Brothers. So, um, we parted ways, but there was no falling out or anything. So when I came back to work with him, we didn't have to like apologize for anything. We never
Sure.
slagged each other off. So I came back to work with him, I think in '93, and I've been back since then.
Yeah,
So
because just in my head, I was sort of thinking, you do the speed thing. Obviously, you've got,
that was the first thing we
yeah,
did to get, yeah, that's
but
right.
there's such a long time between
I know,
another
I know.
full record. I was thinking that maybe you'd gone off and then came back again, but I must have that completely wrong. So it was just a case of just waiting until he was able to do more music then.
Yeah, Chrysalis Records, his label folded, and his contract was picked up by Capitol, and we actually did a record that was never released, and it was produced by Glenn Ballard, who did Alanis Morissette.
And
But it was
that album is still out there. It's never been released.
no,
Wow.
and it was. Glenn's idea was to recreate, Elvis Presley music. It was all like upright bass, and it was ill-fated. It was not what we should have done. Fortunately, it was not. It was just the wrong idea, and so yeah, we had to wait to get a new label, and then we started to play shows, and but yeah, I've been back since 90, I'd say 94, 93, 94.
And incredible. And it's incredible body of work that you've got. I mean, looking back over your entire career, obviously there's a lot more to go, and as the new album proves, you guys are at your very peak. What is the song that you're most proud of?
Eyes Without a Face, because I think it encompasses everything a great Billy Idol song should be. It's got a beautiful melody. It's got this great melancholy to it, which I love, and then explodes in the middle with this wild, heavy rock guitar, and then this sonic blast of a solo. So it's got everything. It's I never tire of playing it, and it's got so much drama to it, and I think that's the thing that draws me to Billy. He loves a bit of drama, and on this record, the song that opens the record, people said, "Oh, well, that's a kind of a unusual song to open a record with," and it's just we love the drama of it. We look at it as its own unfolding a movie, and that's the way I look at this record. It's really a movie about Billy Idol.
And it's a fantastic concept record, and the movie clips as well, the video clips, help tell that story as well, which is fantastic. Just one final one before I let you go, Steve, because I
Yeah,
appreciate
sure.
you taking the time. I couldn't not quickly ask about Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because obviously you guys have won so many awards over the years. I'm sure you've got no space left on your mantelpiece for anything, but it felt like a real shoe-in that you guys would be going in there straight away. But reflecting on it yourself, I mean, is it something that you lose much sleep over?
No, I mean when we were nominated, my answer was, well, I still have to clean my cat's litter box and take out the garbage every Tuesday. It's not going to change that. It's nice to be nominated. Taking myself out of the equation, it's nice that I was nominated with Billy, but I do believe that Billy Idol will get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy for the artists that are being inducted. They are deserving of it. And last year we were able to help induct Ozzy into the Hall of Fame. So I think there's, for everyone that complains about it, they do honor some really, they go out of the way to honor the real forebearers of rock and roll, the early guys, the blues guys. And so I think they're trying to do the right thing, and I think who knows, maybe next year.
For sure. Final one from a guy from New York playing at the top of the Empire State Building. That must have been pretty special.
Incredible. Yeah, incredible. I'd never been in that building. I grew up in New York, and but to go up there and see all the boroughs, the 5 boroughs from one vantage point, um, pretty amazing. You know, I should have done it a long time ago. So it's great.
Look,
Absolutely
Steve,
great.
absolute pleasure to chat with you. Congratulations on the new record, and we'll look forward to seeing you when you're back in the UK.
Great. Yeah, we'll be at Wembley. So, you know, oh man, it's so great to play that venue, and I get chills thinking of how Billy must feel to come back. You know, started his career in '77, and to be able to play Wembley Arena. You know, man, I'm so proud of the guy. I really am. So,
Well, we're
oh,
proud of Ollie, and we'll be looking forward to being in the crowd and enjoying that show.
awesome, great.
Thanks, Steve. Have a good one.
All right, thank you. Bye bye.
Just bye.